in case you hear craziness happening, that's what's not a no one's dying, everything's fine.
Okay. So it's not in my head then. Gotcha.
No, no, it's literally my voices, not your voices this
Right on, right on. You wanna come up
I
or
I
you wanna stay behind or what
you
what are you
that's
thinking?
completely up to you on
Oh,
how you
alright.
wanna do it. Yeah,
No, no, for
either way.
sure.
Oh,
Let's see. Whoop, whoop.
well, hello.
Yep, just trying to figure it out.
Hi, welcome to the
Figure it
Lindsay
out.
Badger Show, with my special guest,
Yeah.
CS. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, how's it going? It's a pleasure to
Hey.
be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I loved seeing all of your pieces. That was a fun adventure.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I have these all on a bookshelf, just like not doing a whole lot of anything. I didn't go through yeah, I did go through that one. Okay.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
you know what the thing
cool.
is, markers are super expensive, so I go through, like, phases, right, where I'll spend, like, $300 on, like, really expensive markers that are, like, 6, $7 each, and then just, like,
Mhm.
see what I can do with them, and when they start running out, I panic, and then I go back digital.
Do you ever invest in the Copics because they have the refills and stuff?
Yeah, in fact, I have probably an entire block of markers that are just completely dried out.
And you just haven't messed with it? You know,
Yep.
the Ohuhu markers that I've been using, I've really been enjoying those, and they're actually quite affordable, and they go on sale a lot.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about those. There's a
They're
few
pretty
artists
good.
that do those.
I
Yeah.
did my in the entire month of June tune I did with those, and I had a good test run of them, and I enjoyed
Hmm,
using them.
nice, nice.
Uh,
Yeah, I heard about those. There's a guy, what's his name? Terrence Unchained, I think is his name on like Instagram. And this
mhm.
guy is crazy with markers and he uses woos
Um,
because you know, like some artists will actually take a picture of their artwork next to like the marker colors that they used.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like I saw those. I'm like, oh, woohoo! What are those? Like, do they leave streaks? Like, that's my
yeah.
main concern. I'm like, will it leave streaks?
No, they blend really, really nice. Des got a set too that's a different brand, I'm not exactly sure, I don't remember what si but she had a good experience with those too, they're a little on the lower end to kinda just dip your toe into the alcohol marker world. I didn't wanna invest in a giant expensive thing, because I was
Yeah,
just kinda learning with it, and I was really quite surprised. I did my homework kinda searching the art world on YouTube because, YouTube University is, like, where it's at, right?
of
So
course. That yeah. I haven't even graduated. I've been there for
I
10 years
know,
still learning.
I just keep going back, it's continual education. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you are aware of Jazza and,
Mhm.
AC Art Attack. They both are really good at doing marker comparisons, and actually Jazza did, like, an entire, like, battle of the marker, which is the best, and
Awesome.
took every marker he could get his hands on. Now he's down in Australia, so he's limited a little bit, but he
Sure.
took all the major brands and put them head to head in a extensive test, and it came down to the Copics and the Ohuhus
Oh,
in, like,
nice.
the bottom 2 or the top 2.
Really?
Yeah, in the end.
So no
So
Prismacolor? They not even a runner
he
up
ha
or
there
like
that Prismas was in there,
okay.
and he just kinda worked through all of it. That's an interesting video if you have time to scrub through it,
No, I definitely
just to
will.
see that process because I am kind of an art supplies nerd,
Mhm.
like, extra, and
Yeah.
I love watching them people compare the different things and why they like it and why they don't and how the longevity and the quality of it all is, and I don't mind forking over $7 for one marker if it's worth my time. If it's going to improve the quality of, maximize the skill set that I have to the best ability, why not invest that? That's called an investment in yourself more than
Yeah.
anything. So, good night, sweet boy. Have a good night. Okay.
Well, like these, for example, I have
Mhm.
5 blocks that are just like
Oh,
this,
wow.
and you see the little dots on some of them?
Yes.
That's an indication that that one is pretty much done.
I have I have one I have one Prismacolor marker.
Uh-huh.
And I got it on clearance at Michael's.
Nice.
That's the only one I have, but I
Yeah.
like it. It's nice.
I have a limited palette with which to work with Inktober, And the weird thing is that I'm not sure because it's been so long since I've really just done the marker thing that I used to have like an inventory as to the percentage of ink that's left in each pen because I use them
Oh,
so frequently,
wow. Yeah.
right? So now I don't. So I don't know like what color to choose because like I start filling something in and I realize that I need, a whole new marker to finish that. So some of these, I mean, some of the artwork has gone stunted that I've been really happy with that I choose the wrong marker for and I'm just
I know exactly what that means 'cause,
uh,
there was one blue marker that I guess I had used consistently for the entire month of June, and
mhm,
by the end of the month, it was like, "Okay, these are gonna be some very characterized backgrounds now," because, I was running out of ink in it because I was just using the devil out of it every single day
mhm.
for an entire month, and that, markers don't last forever.
Right.
So, but the rest of the set was good to go. I was like, "Man," but they sell singles. That's
Mhm.
what's nice is the you
Yeah.
you can buy a big set to start you off, but then you can fill in with the singles, which I was like, "Thank
Yeah.
God for that."
Yeah. You have
Thank
art
him.
places by your neck of the woods where you can actually like turn this huge spindle and actually even turn the marker or
Oh,
open
yeah,
it up
yeah.
and make a
We've
mark
got
on
I
the side
have,
and everything.
we have Michael's and we have Hobby Lobby here. We
Okay,
have
nice.
and then, if I know what I'm looking for specifically, I'll order it online. Like, Tombow, for example, you can order online,
Yeah.
and Dick Blick also sells all their stuff via
Mhm.
online. And actually, they have really, really good sales on their art stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a huge fan. I was like, "Can we have one of those locally? Because we don't have that at least here in the Oklahoma City metro area, we don't have a Dick Blick." Um, I don't know where
Yeah.
their market is, actually. What's the best sketchbook to use for Inktober? Uh,
I'm just gonna be biased.
well, I mean, the paper's gonna depend on what you're using for Inktober. If you're following the specific rules of ink, like Indian ink or like, your brush pens, it's gonna be different than if you're using alcohol markers
That's
or
true.
maybe even a water-based ink is going to require a different type of paper as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say if you're just doing, like just a pencil sketch and then you're going to use, say, like a brush pen to, basically ink over that rough sketch, it really doesn't matter what pound of paper you use. Um,
Yeah, just kinda like a
because,
standard sketchbook would be good for that.
yeah, like this is 80 pound and it's meant to hold um,
I don't
ink
remember
really
what mine
well. So if you look at this side right here, there's not too many colors that, hitched a ride on the other side of this. So the thicker the paper, the better.
I
Um,
have you have a Strathmore. That's Strathmore, right? Yeah. Yours is just toned,
yeah,
but it's basically the same as their standard sketchbook.
pretty
And
much. Yeah.
this is a
Yep.
60-pound,
Okay.
89
Nice.
GM. Yeah, so this is your standard get it at wherever, Walmart, Amazon. But
Hmm.
then I have the Canson mixed media paper.
Ah.
That is a 98. And that's more for like, alcohol markers or because it's a smoother paper. They even have specifically marker paper for just that. Has to do
Yeah.
with the tooth. Has to do with the weight. It has to do with the texture.
Yeah. Very
If you
much
use
so.
if you use like a really really rough textured paper with like a brush pen or like a brush nib, it'll shred that nib really
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Um where, the smoother paper like if it's just like thinking about like drawing paper texture versus like printer paper texture is always really super smooth, but usually printer paper is super super thin. And
y-
not really ideal for having a lot of overworking done because it'll tear it up really really bad. But I don't know, just like I
Yeah.
said, it just depends on the medium you're wanting to put on it.
Yeah. And also for like, especially something where you're really letting the ink soak into the paper, like
Yeah,
you're being very generous with your portioning, or proportions. You need something a little thick so it can actually hold
I have to remember
inside of the
what
paper
those
and also not compromise
yeah, you don't want
the
it to tear
paper at
up.
all. Yeah. And I would say
The
like 4 or 5 maybe, like, back and forths, like, I'll color something in for a second and then stop it, and you have to work wet, though, at the same time in order to avoid, all of these, like, marker lines as well. So having alcohol-based markers will help in that respect, I feel.
Am I frozen? Yeah, that camera's frozen again. Dang you,
Froze.
frozen camera. My secondary camera, my overhead camera, likes to freeze.
Do you know how to fix that immediately?
Yeah, I deactivate and reactivate it
Yep,
in the
yep.
OBS. Yeah.
You know how long
Um,
it took me to figure that out?
yeah, that's a blessing.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, but, this book is the actual, Ohuhu brand that they recommend for their markers. I just wanted to try it whenever I was using it, and it's actually I saved the little label so I could remember what the weight is, and it's, 120 pound.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's the good stuff. They have the square and they also have, like, your standard rectangular one. But the paper, I mean, that's some pretty heavy saturation, and it didn't even
Yeah,
soak all the way through, and that's the dark stuff
yeah.
over here. But, yeah, you could see, like, the marker started dying up here.
Yep.
It was like, "Oh, no, stay with me." But, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, this is super thick,
Oh,
heavy,
that's
and it's
fantastic.
smooth. It's very
Mhm.
smooth textured paper, where this multimedia one is a little more rougher texture, and it's a 98, so the poundage is a little lighter too, so it's thinner. But,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it really just depends on the brand, on this is, I did the colored pencil on this, and it was nice too, but not
That's so
necessarily.
good. That's a great study right there.
Uh, I'm I'm wanting to go back to this style of art for this
Mhm.
weekend, for the
Nice.
fundraiser that Veda's doing.
Okay.
We're doing a live draw, and we're gonna do some artwork that's Louisiana themed, whether it's the Bayou or New Orleans or any of that stuff.
Nice.
We're gonna all do live art pieces, and I'm wanting to pull out the polychromos and do an art piece that's in this style again. So, it'll take a little longer than an hour, obviously, but it'll be a nice piece that, is gonna be given away to one the highest donor for our segment.
Very cool.
So,
Very cool.
yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah, that was another thing. Time, wasn't really discussed in the pieces that I've done in particular. When I live streamed every single day of October for Inktober, it was
Yeah,
anywhere from, like, an hour and 45 minutes to, like, 3 hours to just
look how
finish one of these, you know?
nicely those blended to the
Yeah, that's
darks to the
fantastic.
light. All those, yeah, and that's all the same set the Ohuhu markers did for the whole month. I was just really, really happy with how they
Oh,
looked.
that's Woohoohoo?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. All the way from the darkest dark to the lightest light. It's just
Oh, that's great.
very little banding, and the bleed through on it, I mean, this took a lot of ink, but I mean,
Oh,
still,
man, yeah.
because I was working it quite a bit, but
I was gonna say you
even
massaged that paper.
I did. But even here in this background, I didn't spend nearly as much time doing that, but,
Oh, that's
towards
great.
towards the end of this month, it really did some really nice transitioning.
Yeah. Well, it's that soft range, right? You have what, like
Mhm.
2 or 3 markers that
Yeah,
you wanna
see,
blend
you
between?
can tell it, I mean, I worked it, but I mean, not nearly as bad as I did Gwen,
Mhm.
because there wasn't nearly as big of a color range that you were trying to work with.
Right.
The more subtle ones, you don't have to work nearly as deeply on them.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
those are so
no.
good.
Some
Those
of
are
these you
what do they
just
call
throw
those?
through.
IPA? What's the name of the style from, like, the Rocky and Bullwinkle era? Is that IPA?
Oh,
It's like what do they call that? Where, like, the eyes are on the
um,
same side of the head, even though it's like you're looking at it from the left, they put 2 eyes on there,
yeah.
even though it's, like,
Um,
completely perspectively inaccurate.
I don't
I forget
remember
what they
the
call that.
official name for it. This is,
Yeah.
much, much later than that, but same styling where they did this, like, comic book style. I
Yeah.
almost feel this like the Hanna-Barbera is what I give the credit to that, even though it's even older than that, I think.
Mhm.
But,
Well, it has a very classic
it
stylized
does. It
style for
does.
sure.
It
I love it.
makes me think of, cereal in the mornings on Saturdays. That's
Oh,
really
man,
what
yeah.
this whole month was all about. I mean, and this is not my childhood.
Oh!
This is
Frederick's
definitely
been
not my childhood, but I love it just the same.
oh, man. I did
No,
a shape language lecture on Mr. Fredrickson for Otis College of Art and Design. His
really?
character design, yes, his when you break down the shapes of this one character, it's absolutely beautiful and it's very
Great.
harmonious. He's made up of circles, squares, and triangles, and you can draw
Yeah,
them
you can
everywhere.
see the
So cool.
triangles and there
Yeah,
was so many squares. I was like, "This guy is just a walking block of clay."
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really all he
It's
is. I mean,
interesting.
there's a just perfect circles here,
Yep,
here, and here, and then there's just he's just blocks everywhere, and
yep,
then there's triangle, triangle,
absolutely.
triangle. Absolutely. Even
Yeah.
his shoe down here is a triangle. Yeah.
You gotta bring tissues when you watch that movie.
Oh my gosh. That Up and Inside Out, guaranteed I'm gonna bawl like a baby. And
Mhm.
Inside Out, I probably if I was not a mom, I probably wouldn't have nearly as much of a connection as that. I mean, even if you don't have kids, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But you relate so much to that main character and it got just sucks you in so
Mhm.
deep. And that's why whenever these newer movies came out, I didn't feel that same connection. And I wonder if it was just because my life experiences don't allow me to connect at that deeper level, or
Hmm,
if it was just a way that the script was written just didn't land the same with me. I'm not sure.
right.
Anyways, I digress.
That's
But yeah,
alright.
these are just my June Tune pieces. I love my Robin Hood
Oh, they're
rooster.
great. There's so
Alan
much
Dale. Alan
color.
Dale was his name. Yeah, and I definitely saw some, really good growth working with the alcohol markers because that was my first month of
Mhm.
working with them. Um, so
Oh,
yeah,
that's a
that
great
was
spot illustration right there.
Archer.
Yeah. Yeah, just the way it's framed, it's really well done.
Thank you. And then that's the end of that. Oh, and then my Carrie Bear. I need to send that
Yep.
to her. I need to send that to her. But, drawn live on Hapstars.
Yeah. Right
And
on. That's one hell of a
Pablo,
portfolio.
I think don't tell Pablo, but he might get this piece because he really liked it.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
anyways, I have let's talk about art and letting it go and
Art
the
letting it
emotional
go.
attachment to art, letting your babies go
Yeah.
because to be honest with you, I've only done um digital art for money exchange
Mhm.
or like more of like corporate style where I get paid to do art for a paycheck and
Okay.
not really like a freelance style of art. And we were just talking about this over in Jeremy's stream about he was proposing the idea of possibly doing an art auction on Haps and having a bunch of people come on and sell their pieces and that kind of thing. I was like, I really don't know how I feel about that. I've
Yeah.
actually, and I sat there and I was thinking about that and I was like, I have never sold a single piece of traditional art of my own.
Hmm.
It's only been digital. And so I was like, I don't know how I feel about letting my babies go. And I know that's a thing. It's just like, well, what am I doing with it other than letting it sit on my shelf? If
Yeah.
somebody's finding pleasure in it and would like to display that somewhere in their world, I think that it would be doing them much more justice than myself. But I think it's more about the time investment and the emotion that you felt while you were doing it. Every time you
Sure.
see that, it invokes that. It's kind of like a time capsule per se.
Yeah. Oh,
It takes
absolutely.
you back to that moment, just like you were going through your sketchbooks. That was cool for you. You were like, "Oh my god, I totally remember this whole situation where I was, the smells around me, the sounds, the people."
Yeah.
You telling your little story about the convention with the mom and the guy that lives in his mom's basement sort of
Right.
situation there, that cracked me up. But I kinda have that same situation with my art pieces whenever I go back, I'm like, "Oh,
Mm.
yeah, I remember whenever I did that. I was
Yeah.
doing that just to practice this," or, "I had never drawn this character before, so I wanted to see how easy it would be for me to accomplish that." A lot of the pieces that I have in my sketchbook aren't for any real purpose other than to say, "I can do that."
Yeah. Okay. That
So
makes sense.
they're like little, landmarks per se in the art journey, I guess.
Yeah. And you know what? I totally agree with you because there have been easily, 10 or so that I can think of off the top of my head where I'm like, "Oh, that actually was." I displayed so much enthusiasm about being proud about this one particular piece that enthusiasm transferred into someone else and was like, "I would very much like to own that piece, please."
Yeah,
But, like, there's an attachment to it,
there
not
is.
only visually, but you're like, "Man, like, I learned so much about that, and I remember where I was and what I did and the exact marking." Like, you can look at your artwork and look at, like, some type of surface texture that you're only
Yeah,
super proud of, and that is it. But that, it tickles you in a way that it satiates you, and God forbid you lose that or get stuck in a drawer. You're like, "Wait,
right.
where is that?" It's almost like your safety art blanket, if you will,
It
you
it it
know?
definitely is a safety. And like Ted said, it's like you're putting a piece of your soul into
Yep,
your art. And so
absolutely.
I feel like if I was to give a piece of my art away, I'd be giving a piece of myself away,
Yeah,
you know? And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. It just kind of in my brain, it invokes a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of separation anxiety, perhaps.
yep,
So that's something that I think I'm gonna have to give myself a little bit of private personal therapy to come to terms with letting some of that go and maybe adventuring into
right,
experiencing the sale of art.
yeah. Well, if I may,
Yeah.
it gets easier because when you start selling them, you miss them. But the thing that will help you is taking pictures of the things that you've sold. Or if you have a website, you have like a
Yeah.
sold thing. Like on my store, I don't have like the full store up yet, but I do keep the things that I've sold on there as like markers, as like accomplishments, as well as experiences that you can remember, and it'll always stay fresh in your mind when you go to like your digital folder. I don't know what you do as far as archival purposes with your art, but I have like an artworks year in review folder that I've kept with me for about 6 years now. So like every year that goes by, like when I'm done with a piece of artwork, whether it be digital or traditional, what I do is I allot it to this folder, and it goes in
Oh,
the
that's
2D
cool.
folder, or it goes in the 3D folder, or the sculpt folder. And then at the end of the year, you can look back and be like, wow, I actually made a lot of really cool things. That's why I can look at all this stuff, and it's a measure, it's a marker for the things
Mhm.
that I've done, in especially in 2015, which was like a huge level up for me because I did it so much that, like I said, like I even knew the inventory. Like there's 30% left on this marker because I've did it on
Yeah,
this picture, this. Like you have this synergy that goes outside the sketchbook. It becomes a part of you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Instagram in a way has helped me kind of log that digitally.
yeah,
And getting in the habit of as soon as a piece is done, you take a picture. You edit the picture to make it look the way it's supposed to look, and then you move on. So, I've kind of gotten myself into that, like, natural habit. It's kind of like an artist signing their work whenever it's finished. Some people don't do that. I don't know
yeah.
why, but they don't because it's not a habit that they've established as claiming it as their own. Some people also have that issue of if I sign it, it's finished and I can't touch it anymore.
hmm
That's not a
Well, I
thing.
can't tell you how
It's
many
not a
times I've, like,
thing.
touched things up. Okay, yeah, it's not a thing because to get back to the Instagram thing, I have, like, taken a picture of it, and then the picture of the artwork that I took will actually show something and highlight something that I
That
don't
you
like
didn't see
about it,
before.
and I'll go back in, I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I didn't do it right. Oh, let's
Oh
color
my
this
gosh.
part in right
I've
here,
caught
blah, blah,
myself so
blah."
many times on my streams whenever I'm like, "Okay, guys, I'm done. I signed it. I'll see you guys later." I sign off, and I'm, like, looking at it, and I'm like, right
Yep,
I mean, my phone is literally sitting in my hand ready to take a picture, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like,
yep,
"Shit, I forgot to shade that entire character. What the
yeah,
hell am I thinking?" Because
yeah,
you're just so in the moment and part of the
yep,
conversation, and you overlook things. And so you
yeah,
just kinda I think you just have to let your art piece simmer
yep.
for a minute. Let your brain kind of reset and then come back and look at it again, and you're gonna see something.
let it
Because
marinate, wake up the next morning and be like, "Oh, wow." I do
let
the
it
same thing with
marinate.
music. You can hear the same thing over and over and not hear
Yeah.
any imperfections, and then wake up the next morning, put the headphones on and be like, "What is this? Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my god, what is
there's
this?"
been many times that even after I've posted it on the Instagram, I've gone back to it. Even if I do, like, a flip through of my book, I'll be like, "Oh, well, that's not how that's supposed to look," and I'll just do a little
Right.
nudgy there and fixie here. It's just, I feel like you're constantly critiquing your work anyways.
Yeah,
Why put these imaginary rules on yourself? It's like you know it's done when it's done. And even when it's not done, share your progress.
yeah.
It shows growth.
Well,
It's a
what was it?
challenge. Mm.
It was what's his name? Wasn't it like Da Vinci or someone said real art isn't finished, it's only abandoned? I mean, because
Ooh,
you could work an art piece for years and years and years. And some people would just spend no more than an hour on it
yeah.
because that's their shtick or whatever. But I mean, to take that Instagram thing a step further, I have gotten to the point where I have filled out an entire storyline for this post. All my hashtags are done, and then realized, no, I gotta color this. So I copy and put it in my little notepad thing on my phone
Yep.
and then rework what I
Oh
want to
my
do
gosh,
before I post it.
my clipboard is like my little memo taker. Oh my gosh, I think I need like 5 different clipboards or one at least that has a lot more storage in it because I always am
Yeah,
copying and pasting and redoing everything
right.
wild
Yeah.
like that.
That's funny. Well, that's the imperfect perfect artist that's inside
Yeah,
of all of us. Like right after, like I said, you have like an opportunity to kind of let it marinate, and the more you look at it, the more you see what's wrong with it. Whereas the person that's just there to appreciate what you do, anyways, as an artist, doesn't even look at that. Not that they
it's
don't have the
true.
awareness of it. They're just like, "Oh, I just love what you do, whatever."
I've
You know?
learned to not voice out loud at least, not all the things that I see wrong or the things that I hate about the piece unless somebody specifically asks me why I think it's wrong.
Right.
Because then you're pointing out all your flaws and everyone else is gonna see them too.
Yep.
So that's really not a good thing for anyone, really. It's not that I'm necessarily hiding anything, that's for sure. But, there was one day, I think it was actually for this month's challenge, my day 2. Oh, my little Artemis, we had a battle, getting her face just right, and I think you probably saw me struggling with that several times. But, I finally got her face where I was satisfied with her, but, it was right before I had erased her face for the last time to redo, and Jeremy's like, "What is it that you don't like about her?" And I
Hmm.
was like, "I don't like her face. Her body is fine, her positioning is fine, the lighting that I have the shading was it was just I yes, Des, I was ready to stab her in her face, and it was
Yes.
just because she was humanoid enough that you could use all of your facial structure layout practices, and they applied. But then her nose was shallow and pointy and her face shape was really a little bit more awkward and the ears were almost elvish but not, they were still more rounded, so it was kind of like where does the tops and the bottoms land, and her
Mm,
eyes were very much like anime large, and so it was just like there was just these small tiny tweaks that made her face abnormal that I was
right.
struggling with, and I
Oh,
wasn't able to fully capture her personality,
mhm.
and that's really what was driving me crazy because she's such a cool character, I wanted to make sure that her personality was coming through,
Right.
and the thing about the face is that even the slightest shadow being in the wrong place projects a completely different personality
Yeah,
because of the way the shape of your face is so unique, it makes that person them.
yep,
If you don't do it right, it's a miss. Like, the whole
yeah,
thing doesn't translate. So, I was
absolutely.
really, really dedicated to trying to get that right, and I finally got it to where I was happy with it, so, that was
Nice.
just I'm not good at nailing the personality of portraits. I can do just, your general, like uh, police mugshot style portraits.
Mm,
This is a face, this is your eyes, nose, whatever. But to get that
right.
shaping right, to get that personality to come through, that's like next level skills that I haven't quite perfected
Mm.
just yet.
Do you know who Jason Seiler is?
No.
Seiler, Jason. He is part of this art educational course online called schoolism.com, and
Okay.
it's led by Bobby Chu. Bobby Chu is a creature artist for people like what's his name, Tim Burton. He
Oh,
did all the
yay.
character design for Alice in Wonderland thing that came out like a decade or so ago.
Realistic portraits.
Um,
Okay. I'm here.
yeah,
I'm looking at it.
but Sailor had one thing that really like, and there's only a couple of portraits that I tried to do that I really wanted to capture the likeness of that was in that repertoire of art that I showed earlier.
Mhm.
And what he said was, as long as you get the T shape constructed the right
Oh,
way. Do you
yeah,
know what I
the
mean by
nose
saying
and the
that?
eyes. Yes,
Yeah.
the T-zone.
As long as you can
That's
get
the
those
trickiest.
angles, you can exaggerate everything else and it'll still look like the person. I saw a
It makes
caricature
sense.
by Jason Seiler that of Snoop Dogg, and he like stretched his face every which way
I
that
think I
made
may
him
have seen
really.
that.
Yeah, it was a very successful one. He also did one of Samuel L. Jackson, and they're so like the heads are so grossly unproportionate and exaggerated, but the thing is the main features that make those people them were there.
It's like the forehead, how far your eyebrow bone comes out and how it relates to your eyes and how your nose is shaped. Yeah, it's that whole middle third of your face is like
Right,
that's your personality.
right.
You carry
Mm,
all of your personality in the middle of your face, just
yep,
letting
exactly.
you know.
Yep, yep, and you look at every single caricature of Jay Leno, and he's got the big chin, right? But, like, you
Yeah,
look at everything else, though, it's tightly woven in the middle, and everything on the outside of the face is grossly
exactly,
exaggerated.
like giant
But that's the
ears and
general
the
rule.
hair is
Yeah,
over exaggerated, or maybe even the
that's
body itself is over exaggerated,
right.
but that face is always. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about there.
yeah,
We
it's
don't
really
make
interesting.
mistakes, Bob Ross. Yeah, good old Bob.
It's true,
Speaking
yeah,
of
that
Bob
guy.
Ross, Joe just did a portrait of Bob Ross that he sent the other day, and it was really, really well done.
Oh, yeah?
I think he posted it on Instagram too.
Oh, okay, I'll have to check that out. Love
Yeah,
Bob Ross.
good
Ugh,
old
Bob.
the good old iPad.
Bob, I need to get one of those because 'cause
I
I'm
was
always,
gonna ask you if you had ever done any, work on the iPad doing the Procreate magic.
Yeah, there's like I've been following Procreate for years now, and I know that there's like a new 3D
They
update
do
for it
so
now
many
that
cool
just
things.
came
Yeah,
out.
they came out with just, a couple of years back, they did the started doing the animation part, where you could
Yeah,
make your own animations with your illustrations. And I think that I do remember seeing them release the 3D aspect, starting to introduce some of that stuff in there too.
yeah,
I haven't really played with those features. I really don't do a ton of Procreate. I need to get into it, but,
yeah. Well, there's a
like I
3D app as well called Nomad, which is incredible. Like I'm seeing some of my like closest art confidence like releasing stuff. Like you did that on an iPad? And they're like, yeah, man, it's next
yeah,
level. I'm about
yeah.
to sell my huge 32-inch freaking tablet that I have over here that weighs like 200 pounds so I can just enjoy drawing at my dinner table if I want to.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I'm excited for Inktober.
Cool. Yeah,
Um,
do you have a theme going, by the way? I was gonna ask, like, whomever came on, like, if you have, like,
I
a straight and narrow approach to this or.
I really don't do a theme necessarily. This is my 3rd year attempting to do it. My 1st year, I
Okay.
did it all the way through. My 2nd year, I think I did the majority of it, but I had to skip a few days.
Mhm.
So I don't feel like that was 100% complete.
Right.
But this year, I don't know, usually I just kinda draw what comes to me, whether
Me
it's,
too.
an IP that I like or maybe a cool picture that I think of or any something
Mhm.
like that. Whatever makes your heart feel good, That's kinda
Yeah,
what I do with that. I know a lot of people do some cool stuff with, like, making it one giant collage that ends up being this full poster by the end of the month, with is an
yeah.
amazing approach to do, by the way. I've
I think
not
Parker is
attempted to do
notorious for
anything
that.
like that. Yes. I saw during Junetune that people were doing almost like it looked like a side scroller collage.
Mm,
Where it looked like it's I know it was all one sheet of paper, but it looked like probably 4 sheets of just 8.5 by 11 paper that was, like, all
huh,
stuck together long ways vertically, and they just started it one day and just continually added to it like some giant comic strip that went on forever, and it was
that's
so
crazy.
cool. I've never seen anybody do it that way, and that was, like, the most inspiring way to do an art challenge that I had seen thus far. Um, I don't know. I probably am gonna stick to just the black ink because that is kind of like it harkens back to the original intent of Inktober was
Yeah.
to limit the palette
Mhm.
and challenge yourself to create depth and shape with just black ink, and with the exception of an undersketch if you needed it. And
Right.
I think that I grew a lot doing that my first year, and, I was not really that great at doing pen, with the hashing and all that stuff, and by the
Yeah.
end of the month, I was doing some pretty rocking stuff.
Mhm.
So, I think I'll probably stick to that just because I've done so many other challenges throughout the year that have included colored pencil and marker and all and this month I'm doing just pencil, which is something I haven't done in a really long time. I kinda did that on purpose just to
Mhm.
revisit how to do that. Because a lot of times
Right.
you sketch and you're done with the pencil and you move on. To get in there and just stick with that one medium to sell your little world you're creating there is sometimes a welcome challenge within a challenge.
Mhm.
Um, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'll probably just stick with microns or in a brush pen, maybe an alcohol marker in the grayscale just to kind of get some background shading or whatever. But yeah, that's really going to be the limit of my palette that I'm going to stick with.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually thinking just that, or also challenge myself to like a tritone challenge, like 3
Ooh.
colors. You can only use the and the only reason why is because like I mentioned earlier, it's like I don't know the percentage of life left in
Right.
all my markers, but I know for a fact some of them have like I haven't even touched yet, you know what I mean? Because I just got some markers for Christmas or whatever, and that sounds really ridiculous for me to
Just
say
grab
like, "I just
three
got
of your
markers for Christmas
yeah.
that I haven't used yet."
Just grab three of the brand new ones that you know are going to last 30 days.
Yeah, yeah, and then just run with it.
I love that I don't know why, maybe I just like torturing myself, but I like putting challenges on top of challenges.
Right.
I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah.
That I mean, it was like the alcohol marker experience was my challenge within the June Dune challenge, Inktober. I like to keep it just to the ink within it. And this month is even though sci-fi, I'm really loving it. I didn't even know I was going to be doing this until the boys came up with the list and was like, if you guys want to play along. And, originally I was like, no, I'm gonna plan out Inktober and, just take this month off as a little, chill time. But I literally only did 12 days of August. So I had my break already.
Right, right.
I
That makes
had my
sense.
days off, sort of. I was out and about doing other things, but art
Yeah,
wise, I had my little break. And so I was ready to kind of get back into doing some more stuff. And, of course, live streaming. What am I going to do if I'm just going to sit here and just stare at you guys? No, of
right?
course not.
Well,
So
you bust out a sketchbook
like,
and get
"Hey,
cracking.
guys, welcome to my channel. We're not gonna do any art. We're just gonna stare at each other for an hour."
Gonna watch and admire. Des asks, "Any advice for newbies for Inktober?" And, I mean, I have one little advice. Let me just move all this crazy stuff out of the way for a second.
My advice would be to plan at least a little bit. At least kinda get a
Yeah.
concept of what you wanna do. You don't even have to sketch it out, but just kinda know. If you've never done a monthly challenge before, because that's a lot. Trying to put out a full sketch or a drawing, a full complete drawing every single day for a month and you've never done it before,
Yep.
have a plan. It
Have
will
fun with
relieve
that.
a lot of stress.
Yeah.
L
One
live
thing that I
live
did
streaming helps.
this year, yeah, live streaming helps because it holds you accountable.
It does.
Um,
Having
like if
friends.
yeah. So if you have your main header, which is Inktober, and
Oh,
you
did
want to
you wanna be
plan.
big because I'm not doing anything exciting over here?
Oh, no, that's all right. I completely forgot about that. Let me just
Because you're,
pop
like,
this
really
over here
tiny
for
in
a
the
second.
studio. There we
Okay,
go.
there we go. Okay, so we've got Inktober. That's the main goal.
Yes.
What I've done with a an app called PureRef, if you guys are artists and you love
Oh my
reference,
gosh, I use it all the time.
PureRef is key because the thing that I'm drawing out right now is exactly what I'm doing in PureRef. I just don't have PureRef open or the thing here to help you guys out to see this. So say you have your days here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I do
6,
this on notebook paper too, by the
7.
way.
Right? Yeah, it's the way to do it. Right? So what you can do is say, like, I think the first one was like crystal or something,
Yeah,
right?
crystal. Here, I can
Crystal,
pull up that
right?
list real quick.
So then what you can do, Inktober, if you wanted to play with the prompt, still don't know if I'm going to do this because I have the first week kind of laid out like this, is to just Google image the word crystal
Yep.
and start collecting pictures in your PureRef that you resonate with, that you like. Second day is something else like vessel or something like that. You just look up vessels, look up abstract vessel, start putting words in front of the actual keyword in Inktober to actually get a more dynamic response. Because if you just look up crystal, you're just going to get inundated with crystals, 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 crystals,
Yeah.
and nothing really imaginative is going to come to mind that will make you kind of go, oh, and have this aha moment what to do with the first day. So that's
Mhm.
stress right there, is like trying to figure out what am I going to do with crystal. So get inventive. Think of earth crystal. Think of power crystal.
Think of
In my
legit,
case,
like, think the most obvious answer, but also think of the more abstract answer to the
yep,
prompt as
there you
well.
go. That's how you do it. And just fill it out. I have the first week laid out, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do this because I'm not feeling crystal and I'm not feeling helmet.
Yeah, a lot of the time since I'm on the go a lot, like
Right.
a ridiculous amount of time, like football fields and, cheer practices and Girl Scouts and all that stuff. I
Mhm.
actually, when I'm stuck sitting in my car waiting for martial arts to get out, I will surf through the images and I will save them to the collection because if you have a Google account and you're on Google signed in, you can actually go through and they have a little bookmark on the images and you can
Right.
save those into different collections. And so I have like an Inktober collection or whatever the monthly challenge is. And I will go through and I will start getting those ideas saved. And then later that evening, whenever everyone's in bed and I'm watching replays or whatever, I will go through and sort out, no, I don't think that's going to be it, or yes, this will be it. And I actually save all of those reference pictures that I pick into a folder on my desktop and I label them with the day and the prompt that I want to use. And then you can throw them to the reference thing or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's kind of like my quick on the go mom life version. It's really kind of sloppy, but yet still organized.
No, very effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so just like this, like little thumbnail pre-planning, utilizing what's out there already. PureRef is free, by the way. I
It
strongly
is.
recommend anybody that wants to use visual reference for their artwork. It's so easy. PureRef like just runs off into the background. If you like something on Google Images, you just click on the image and you drag it into this app and it keeps it. You don't have to like create a bunch of images, put it in a folder, open up Photoshop, take all of those pictures, try to create some type of collage out of it. It does it for you. It cuts
Yes.
a bunch of time away from your reference material gathering. So
Yeah, it's pureref.com. I put the name in
yeah,
the chat there.
yeah, it's free. Get it,
Eh,
get it.
yes.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
that as soon as you said it the first time, I put it on my computer,
Pure F is
and
awesome.
I approve.
Yep. And aside from that, just keep yourself consistent. I mean, any more like advice? get out of your own way, because there, I can't tell you
Um,
how many days out of the month that, and I
yeah.
remember this from previous Inktobers, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I can just
Oh,
be like, hey, I'm done. I'm done. All right, 15 days. I'm happy. Blah, 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 blah. But
another
you know
tip,
what? What?
keep it smaller.
Yep.
Do
Oh,
not do full page pieces that will take you an multiple hours to do in a day because you will burn out before the first week is up.
yep.
You see Jeremy do the baseball card size. That's kind of that's a little on the smaller side if you're wanting to get into details. I would think postcard size or half sheet size, like a 5.5 by 8.5, maybe roughly. That might be a good size to start with, and then if you feel more confident, then you can go bigger. But, I my first year, I went to Michael's and bought a $5 journal, and it wasn't even special paper. I just drew on what I had, and, it was a I don't know, it was the 5.5 by 8.5 size, and that was kinda big because I fill it. I fill my page to edge to
Yeah.
edge. Um, and I probably could have gone a size down, more like a 4 by 6 size, maybe even a 5 by 7. One of those roughly in that range, I think would be good for a beginner size. That way you have
Yeah.
enough room to play around, but not so much that it's gonna be overwhelming to finish in a day.
Mhm. I was going to say, this book right here is a
Mhm.
9 by 12, and this is when I really started getting into marker drawings, and I'm just like looking at this one, for example, and thinking how much blue I could have allotted to other art pieces, because this is a 9 by 12 piece.
Have to
And I'm like,
ration it out.
why am I running out of markers so fast? Oh, because you're dedicating this like
Yeah.
huge,
Actually,
sketchbook to.
I had found because I just recently went through all of my shelving and cleaned out and reorganized everything, and so I found a pad that only had a few sheets left in it, and it was back from whenever I was in college, like a decade ago, and, I was like, "Never ever will I ever probably invest in doing an 11 by 14 piece. Not in this room. Not in this world, probably. I don't have the patience to do that." So what I did is I took out all of the extra sheets and I cut it all down into quarters. I
Mm,
split all of it down, all the sheets into quarters, and I'm doing every single piece in September on that paper.
nice.
So I'm actually, making light of a once in that why is it that college makes you buy, like, the largest of largest pieces of paper?
Because you want to stand out, you know? What a
Well,
better way
I
to
mean,
do
I
that with
have
a big
I
old
have
piece of
other
paper.
pads of paper back here that, they don't have a ton of sheets in them, but they're like you could wrap the world with one of those pads of paper because 'cause they're just so huge. It's
Yeah,
like a 24 by 36 pad of paper. I'm like, "Good God, why? I
yeah.
don't want an ugly ass still life of that in my life. No."
Like, to your point about size, I mean, this is the newest sketchbook I just opened today
Des
on
is
the
Des is
stream.
knowing all about that size matters
Yeah, it
situation,
does.
finishing up
It
that,
does.
piece. I mean, if you're doing, like, watercolors because watercolors you can work bigger and kinda get a little bit more area done in a faster period of time, I guess, or maybe there's places for those sizes, but in my world
Right.
for Inktober, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Especially your first time. If you're like CS over here and has done it, a million years in a row, you may wanna venture out and challenge yourself with larger pieces, but my squirrel brain will not allow me to go bigger than what fits in my printer.
Yeah, because again, like just a few of these that are just the size of a 9 by 12 sheet of paper. When you're coloring that, while you're doing it, you're enjoying it, but then there's also like this weight that's like kind of straining on you to finish this. You're like, oh, do I
Right.
have enough marker? Wow, this is a really big surface. Oh, why did I choose to draw this? Why did I choose to draw this so big? So this will give you like a smaller size bite with which to kind of conquer the day with, rather than exhausting yourself of Inktober's days 1 through 3 on a 9 by 12, and you could just do something small and a little bit more poignant with a smaller piece of paper.
Right. Yeah, well, and in your stuff too, for the most part, I noticed you don't really necessarily color all the way out to the edges of the paper. You kinda,
Mhm.
like, let your character just chill on the paper as it is and not necessarily have an environment to hang out in,
Right.
where, let me see if I find some of my stuff. Is this my first? Yeah, this is 2019 was my first Inktober. And so I've had a couple of those that were, like, blank sheets in the background sort of deal. But then I started getting, started adding some more character into it. And this is just dotted journal. This is my $5 special from Michael's. Uh, I don't recommend that because the dots show up in your images. But and then that was my son was like 4 whenever I did this. So and then I
That
started
wasn't a
getting
fit of rage of yours.
nope, that's a 4-year-old drawing his masterpiece. That's what this is. I even dated
Beautiful.
it, 2018 by Ethan, so I knew it was him.
Gotcha.
But then I started getting more into exploring your textures and, building on that skill set a little bit more
Yep.
and starting to find the shading as well as the texture, trying to create shape. And that's kind of challenging a little bit
It
because you
is.
don't have that gradient scale. Once you lose the grays and you only have black and white to work with, holy moly, is that a awakening of
Yeah.
sorts. Um, but here I started playing with the gray markers to kind of give him some texture there, but we're still kind of
Mhm.
within the black and white range. But then we start getting into this is like
I love
Lindsay
that.
has now found her space. Lindsay
Yeah.
has now mastered the comfort level of working with pen about halfway through the month.
She's like, "Feed me, Seymour. I need
Exactly.
more
So
space."
I'm starting to, I fill up this entire could you imagine if this was like a full sheet, how long it would
Oh,
take me to
man.
do this?
Absolutely.
Because I guess I'm just a sucker for detail and I want to get in there and get down and show every little crevice of every little thing. And so yeah, and this is what I was saying. I kind of like just finding the prompt word that brings joy. Whatever comes to mind that brings joy to my heart. Cuz I mean, if you don't enjoy what you're doing and you are making yourself do this every day for a month and you don't normally do this every day for a single month, then you're going to burn out. Find
Yep.
ways to find joy within what you're doing because there's no right or wrong. This is my brother actually, and he was so excited that I did it cuz he didn't know I was doing it. This was for the day misfit and that was perfect cuz he's my little brother and he's a pain in the ass. But,
Nice.
he actually took this and made it his work email, like, picture. I was like,
Nice.
"Wow, so everybody at the factory now sees you," 'cause he was a manager at a factory. Anyway, so I was like, "Okay, well, that's one way to get my art out." But yeah, so then I started playing with, like, there's little shadows on the globs of paint, but then there's shape that has to create the tarp, and, there's different little levels that you have to kind of explore through all of this stuff. It's really all about it's more about your brain growing and
Mhm.
your muscle memory development than it is actually what's actually on the page for me.
Yep.
The topic is just something to entertain myself while I'm exploring, showing really, really dark shading, showing a highlight in a dark place can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But then we get into crazy shit like this. Why did
Oh,
I do this to myself? I don't know, but I did and I loved it. You gotta love the Goonies, right?
sure.
There's so many gold coins on this. I remember cussing at myself. I'm like, why the hell am I doing this to myself?
Yep.
I didn't cut corners on it. I didn't simplify it. I just went with what I was seeing. And I remember this night very well. It was like, damn, that's good, but I don't want to do that again. It was I just have those moments, and then, you've got the Hatbox Ghost was really fun too because, again, you're getting into those darks because you don't want everything to be
Mhm.
black. You have
Sure.
to kinda be easy on how you do the gradients, and it's very, very when you're working with black ink, it's very easy to go too dark
Yep,
really
too quick
fast.
too, and what I like
Really
about these
fast.
ones, the ones that you've passed by a few times, like, these are very tonally accurate that, like and what I mean by that is that, all too often, I'll see a piece of artwork and say, like, this one picture was this like a what's the name of this character? Is
This
it a
is the
ghost?
Hatbox Ghost from the Haunted Mansion at
Oh,
Disneyland
okay.
World. Yeah,
So, like, everything is very even. You look at his left thigh, look at his right thigh, you look at the shadowing from his hand and everything, it's all very even, and that's very
and
difficult
it's
to do.
lighter down here because his body's kind of tilted forward and looming over a little bit,
Yeah.
so his
Yep.
cape is kinda shading all of his torso, and then it's brighter down underneath here a little bit.
Yeah, that looks great.
So, you kinda have to think about all of that and the folds and the muscles and, well, lack of muscles for this guy, but there's still a sort of muscle structure there.
Sure.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah, but, I mean, this is whenever I tried to very sparingly use the gray tonal marker, but, like,
Mm,
on a piece like this, if I didn't have those gray tones in there, it would just be flat white, and it would be
right.
boring. So yeah, that was God, I love this. I love Hitchhiker's Guide. I don't know if you guys are huge fans, but I am. I'm such a
Yeah.
sci-fi nerd. This is
So
why I
long, and
like
thanks for all
September
the
so
fish.
much. So long and thanks for all the fish. But then, you get caught on days where you just really don't care. And you just pull something out of your butt to get it done and move on. That's what this day is. You go from something like this, and then you immediately have a day like this, and you're like, "Yeah, that was a bad day. That was a bad day." It was just get something done. Get something done, get something on the paper, and move forward because not every single day is going to be a good day. And don't beat yourself up
Pen?
on those days either. Yeah,
Yeah.
pen here, and then I did, yeah, this is all, yeah, ink, brush marker, I think is what I did
Oh,
to color all
wow.
that in. I know.
That's that's patience right there.
It is, but I mean, look, no bleed through, no bleed
Oh,
through.
a
But yeah,
pro.
this guy,
Nice. Is that from, oh god, what's the name of that? Neverending Story?
that's correct, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Don't mind my husband, he's playing video games.
Alright.
Uh, and then, this was more of a style, exploration.
Mm,
It's supposed to be more flat. It's more of a stylized
mhm,
it's actually an art piece that I found. It was for a cover of a book that came out of this series. And I
mhm.
loved this logo because that's kind of from more of like the TV show of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And I was just it's more of like it looks almost like a paper doll kinda cutout style, and I was like, "Well, it didn't necessarily translate that well, but it works. It still
Yeah,
sells what it is."
yep, yep. No, it's a very flat, stylized,
Yes. I'm
illustration. Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
think of, I can't think of the art style at the moment. It's like, almost like Art Deco of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, like a noir deco or something.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, it's a little bit different than what the rest of the month is, and I like to kinda dabble in that a little bit and see how I do and how it translates into that character and into that prompt, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You never know.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta
Love
love
this.
you gotta love, oh god, what was his name?
Who
It
Framed
I
Roger Rabbit,
Yeah, it's
right?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I was trying to remember what if the cab had a name. I keep wanting to say
Oh,
Herbie, but that is totally wrong because that's not
yeah,
right.
it's a love bite.
Um, but exactly, yeah, but I love him. I loved his sass. He's sassy.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a New Yorker. This was from the Goose Game on the Switch that was really popular this year. That
Oh, is it
the
like the
year that I did
insulting goose or something?
the Untitled Goose Game is
Okay.
what it was, and you played as the goose, and the goose was a troublemaker, and you had to have it was a very short game. There was, like, 2, maybe 3 stages of the game, and then you were done. and it was super cheap too. It was like a little independent game. And you play as the goose and you walk around this world and you basically torment the hell out of the residents. Okay, like, in typical goose style. So you
Love
would
it.
like steal the gardener's keys and throw them in the water, and then you would lock the gardener out of the garden, and you would steal the fruit, and there's like this checklist of like horrible things that you do around to make a mess and cause havoc, and then you can move on to the next area, and you can like steal things from the shopkeeper, and you can find your way onto a TV show, and there's a bunch of just random little things, but it's so funny just how simple it was, but how entertaining it was, and how strangely popular it was for that
Mm,
short amount of time.
yeah. Wasn't there a goat game like that as well?
I want to say there probably was, but I didn't get a chance to play that one. But yeah, what you would do is you would uproot this sign that says no geese. The farmer would hammer it back into the hole, and you had to time it just right. As he's going to whack that down, you honk at him, and he smacks his hand with the hammer, and he's like writhing in pain. And somehow he opens this gate behind him or falls into it or whatever and gets to move on. Um, Loves watching YouTube videos on this. Yeah, it's actually
It's
a
funny.
really, really cute game, and it's so simple. I didn't even know why people were liking it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it too. It's like you're playing inside a painting almost. Just the way it felt like it was like, one of those cottage style paintings where a lot of jigsaw puzzles were made out of those kind of paintings. You would see them at your grandma's house or whatever. But you tormented the gardener, you tormented the shopkeeper, you tormented a kid. This poor kid was terrified of you, and you would steal his glasses and run off. Um, uh, yeah, there was this other person that there was this guy in a backyard, and you would like steal his slipper and take his newspaper and run off with it, or you would steal like the garden gnome or whatever. There was another area where you would go into a restaurant and you would torment the poor waiter guy. There was just several different little people that you got to ruin their day, and it was thoroughly enjoying. It was a little moment of trolling, I guess. You get to
And that
see the
illustrator,
goose troll.
yeah, that illustration encapsulates it perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. Wow, I spent a long time on that. Anyways, um, Catch Me If You Can. Again, another stylized piece. I love,
Hmm.
love, love the intro to this movie. I don't know if you guys remember it. This is a fantastic movie with Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio. But the
Hmm.
intro to this movie is very similar to how Archer starts. The series Archer has
Hmm.
that similar styling, and also James Bond. It goes back into that would that still be Art Deco, but
I think it's
animated?
like a noir deco,
Yeah, it's like
something like
I
that.
don't if somebody can put an actual name on that, that'd be great because I
Yeah.
don't know why, but I'm drawn to it. I like it a lot.
Mhm.
I think Hairspray, the movie Hairspray has that same styling in the beginning of it too. Anyways, it's not necessarily the best illustration of the entire month, but again, it's a style that I was trying to play around with because I had never really drawn it. I've just been
Sure.
attracted to it.
Mhm.
So, and then just finish out the month with a crazy witch. Why not? It's
Oh,
October. Happy
awesome.
Halloween, right?
There you go.
Des can hear the honk. Yeah, you get to honk at everything and scare the crap out of people. It's thoroughly enjoyable. But I mean, I did this my first month because I had seen several people do this before, but I was infatuated, but never enough to do it.
Mhm.
So yeah, my little Zen tangle moments here. Uh
Nice.
so our buddy from the platform that is no longer Blab, he had done it a couple of years before, and we decided to join in on it way after Blab was gone, Joe and myself decided to do it together. And we actually kind of did it semi privately. We had a group chat that we would hang out with a few friends and we would draw every night together. Similar to how we do here on Haps all the time. We would do that before, Haps even existed. And so we started with Inktober and then we loved it so much that we made Archuary, which is our thing that we do in January. And I think this is the third year coming up now. 'Cause I
Nice.
think, yeah, because 2020 would be the first year. Come on. Yeah. 2020 was the first year. And I mean it's similar in concept, but this is open to any medium. Any
Oh,
art
nice.
style, any medium. If you wanted to make an entire month of music related to these prompts, you can, or photography or whatever, because we didn't want to limit to medium, style type or anything. It was just like, here's the prompt list. Use your creative juices to do it however you want to do it. And we kind of made the creative multiverse like its home where this challenge lives. And also it exists on Instagram and stuff too. But um,
Awesome.
hi, Sarita. How are you? But I mean, I did more color this month. This was all like colored pencil. And then I did just regular pencil doing the tornado thing because, it's fun. It's so fluffy.
Yeah.
I'm going to die.
Oh, love it. Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski. But I mean, you can tell that there's some days that I got really busy and it's just like just throw something together on paper like this, for
Sure.
example. By the way, fun fact that nobody really knows, I can play the flute. But
Oh.
yeah, and I can read music as well. But
What?
yes, I can.
That's
Uh
awesome.
Thank you. I started band in the 5th grade, went all the way through high school and the first year of college. My college band sucked horribly. It sounded like I was in 5th grade again, so I quit. Um, uh, b it's horrible whenever you don't have a good band program. I was spoiled. I had a fantastic director and, loved every second I could get out of music. It was a good thing. It's good for creatives to have multiple facets of art in their
Absolutely.
life.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I even went to band camp during the time of American Pie. So I dealt with all of that, okay?
Oh,
So
man.
yeah. Um not that any of that actually happened that they referred to in the movies,
Mhm.
but I still had to deal with all the comments. But yeah, so just
Sure.
random things. This was, I think, done in my car one day. Uh just random things that make you happy. There's Ego, the
Rainbow
Living
Bright?
Planet. Yeah, Rainbow Bright. That's a little bit of childhood right there.
Yep.
I love her and her little sprites and her little pony that she rides on and all that good stuff. Ego, Living Planet. This was the same year that Volume 2 came out of Guardians of the Galaxy. And so I was all about Ego and friends and still
Oh,
am very much about all of the Guardians. But
yeah.
that was cool to do that little
Nice.
nod there. Rockadoodle. This was supposed to be a Matrix piece that failed.
Oh, that
Do you
doesn't look
guys
good.
remember
That looks awesome.
whenever he gets in the phone booth and he puts the phone up to his ear, they like have this weird, like wormy, wiry, semi-translucent texture over their body as they're getting like sucked into the phone.
Yep.
And I was trying to get that to translate and it just didn't work that well, but it does look really cool and kind of
It has
creepy.
its own it has its
It
own,
looks
like,
very creepy. It does
taste to
not
it. Yeah.
translate as to what I intended it to be, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
That's
that's
cool.
a
I
really
like it.
creepy person sitting in a phone booth. But
"Excuse me, I have to use the phone." Oh, never mind.
I'll wait. Thank you. But yeah, that was a fun little study trying to sort that out.
Oh, that's great. That's a brave study, actually.
Yeah, it's hard to translate movie magic into drawing
Absolutely. Yeah, very
and
much
and
so.
make it translate without context. 'Cause,
Mhm.
you guys would have never known in a million years probably that that was from The Matrix, just
Nope.
looking at that. If you have to explain your art, you didn't necessarily reach your goal, but it probably looks cool still.
Does.
But anyways, yeah, I love my little peacock. That was a fun one.
It's cool.
I love how I did
Ooh.
different mediums for almost every day this month. There was black and whites, there's colored pencil, there's ink, there's water ink, there's alcohol ink, there's all sorts of different. Yeah, you can see the different. This is the how the water inks bleed through just basic paper.
Yeah.
I love the colors on this and how it blended. That was really nice.
Yeah. It's
It's like I
complimentaries there.
It's like, I wanna go to Florida after looking at this and go see more tropical, pretty things. It is pretty. And remember those days where you don't feel like drawing, but you gotta do
Yeah.
something?
Uh-huh.
They happen.
And it almost looks like the one thing that you pointed out the last time that was just straight black that was, like, almost spiralic looking,
Yeah.
almost looks like that like the tire tread equivalent of what you
Yes.
did when you were like, "I gotta do this again." You know what
That's
I mean?
exactly right, and I bet that's day 15. Let's see what day the other one was
Same
because I
shape
haven't
language.
looked. How much you
Yeah.
wanna bet it's the same day or similar time of the month? Because halfway is when you hit your hump,
Uh-huh.
and nope, day 15 was Legend of Zelda, so I was still doing pretty good. I was excited. It was my first day or my first challenge. I'm curious. This is like a moment.
Right?
Don't mind me while I
It's
explore my
alright.
insanity. Day 24 was whenever I was starting to really wear down. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was going really strong. Day 24 is whenever I really started to wear down. And then this was my second challenge. It was hitting about the midway of the month. I really wanted to like be done.
Yep. You really wanted
I
to
even
just
skipped
skedaddle
this
out of
day.
there.
I skipped this day completely. I didn't even come back to it. The day's radiant. One day I'll probably come back and finish it.
No, you
Um,
took off.
I took a break, a mental
Yeah.
break.
Oh, that's what that tire tread is. You drove off and you left a day
Exactly,
there.
exactly. Yeah, and then I came back in and did some pencil work, and then we go
Yep,
into some marker work, and that's what
yep,
I love about archery is that you can do whatever you want, right? There's no
yep.
restrictions necessarily, except for just a prompt word of the day. Just
Well, that
some.
Pokemon right there almost looks like you're like, "I am back," and everything's just like you're, like,
It's like a
totally recharged.
resurgence
You're
of
like,
art
"Alright,
goodness.
so
Yes,
I took a page
exactly.
off, but I'm back." You know?
You're not that far off because there's some pretty good pieces in here. This is nice, like soft
Yeah.
gradient shading, shaping, and stuff. But this
Whoa.
guy right here, you gotta love him. Good old
Yeah, he's
Ahmed.
great.
He's one of my favorites of this month too. And then oh look, we have a blank page. Did I skip a day? Yes, I did. I skipped that day. But then you have a shark with a frickin' laser beam on his head.
That's
How awesome is that?
amazing. That's amazing. Freaking
I
laser
as
beams.
soon as I saw the prompt word beam, I knew exactly what I was drawing. That was like a no-brainer. I did not have to hem and haw. I knew exactly from day 1 what I was drawing for that day. It was a nice little water study too to get the highlights and the shapes of
Yeah,
the
well,
water
even
and to show the body under the water
I was
as
just
more of
about to
like a
say that.
blurred out instead of like that hyper focus with the glistening highlights because it's still a wet surface.
You know?
It's definitely a simple subject, but still has some of its own challenges in there, which I kind of like.
Water is a challenge in and of itself.
It is. And then we have these. This is like a I have to get shit done. It was probably like 1:30 in the morning when we did this. That's
Mm.
scary. But then we do this. It's like inconsistent as hell. I'm telling
Oh,
you, the levels are just like, let's go to middle school, let's go to high school. Oh, look, this is professional shit.
love it.
It's too funny. But I mean, I haven't drawn every single day for multiple years or anything like that, and it was out of practice, so you can see the inconsistencies through this stuff. I think I've drawn more this year alone than I probably have since college, like,
Mm.
consistently. And it's all because of you guys,
Oh,
because you guys inspire.
absolutely.
Little army guys.
Oh, is that
Those
from Toy
little
Story?
yeah, yeah,
Is it?
Gravity.
Yeah.
Well, okay, the army guys are in Toy Story, but I vividly remember these from whenever my brother had them, and,
Oh,
like,
okay.
like, the fireworks that have the little aerial fireworks you shoot up in the sky, and the little guy comes floating down with, like,
Oh, yeah.
the little plastic or, like, almost like a coffee filter style parachute. That was more of what I was going for with these, but I think they also have them in Toy Story as well.
It's awesome.
And then we get to this. So how is it that you go from meh to that? I don't know. It's all about mood. It's all about
Yeah,
headspace. It's all about
it
being in
chooses
the
what it
right
wants to.
place to draw.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at drawing hands. That was just a lucky day, I think. Um yeah, and then
No
of course
disassemble, Stephanie.
yes, it's Johnny 5. Johnny 5, you disassemble.
It's alive.
Input. Need
Your mother
input.
was a snowblower.
I love that. I love that so much.
In laser lips.
Yes, and it was probably cold as hell this day, so I really needed to snuggle up in a nice
Oh,
warm
nice.
blankie. That's
You
like
know what? I've done that before.
a
I've been
duvet. You just wrap
so
yourself up like that on a couch and watch some Netflix, and it's a good
hell
day
yeah.
with some, like, hot cocoa on the side or something. Hell
I've
yeah.
been super tired one time and I drew myself like just like nodding off, like my head's falling through my hand. And when I was done with it, I was wide awake as if I
Yeah.
drew my exhaustion out onto a piece of paper. It was really
Oh,
interesting.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to challenge myself to do digital for Archery 2021, and I didn't get very far. Um, I just printed these off and stuck them in here.
Oh,
But,
okay.
I this is probably the best piece of all of them.
Cool.
Procreate has the multi, proportionate wheel thing. Similar you have other things too where you
Yeah.
draw and you have
They call it radial symmetry.
yes, the radial symmetry, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I had it split, I think, in 6 pieces.
Mhm.
So, well, 1, 2, 3, 8. So, I would draw, like, a quarter of it, and then it would just mimic on the other side. But, this was so, like, therapeutic to do,
Mhm.
and what was really fun with it is on Procreate, you can go in and turn this into a mask, and you can overlay, like, gradient colors, so I have, like, this rainbow of, blended colors that makes it look even cooler. I was
Wow.
like, "Oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever."
Yeah.
So, that was really fun because 'cause I'd
Nice.
never drawn a mandala like this before, and so
Mhm.
that was another learning moment. These challenges are not just for pastimes, they're learning moments for me for sure. And then
Yeah.
that's the first thing I
Ooh,
drew on Haps with, Michelle on her
nice.
sketch party.
Very
It's
cool.
true. It's true. So that's what is left in this. There's a little bit of August, a couple of Star Wars things. There's
Ooh.
a llama. I don't know if
Oh,
you guys have recognized that guy. I'm
yeah,
sure
he's
you
like the
probably
Haps
do.
Llama icon.
Yeah, we drew this with Blaine and Wilson. So they joined us on the sketch party, and we did a 3-minute draw of the llama, and then later after the live, I went and colored him in. So that was fun. This
That's
was a
awesome.
couple of other of the speed sketches. Then we did superheroes one night. Um, there is a YouTube channel if you guys have kids. There is a YouTube channel called Art for Kids Hub. I didn't name it. I would have changed it up a little bit. But besides the fact of their naming, they have an amazing set collection of videos to encourage kids to draw.
Mm.
Um, and they do step by step how to's, and it's a dad and one of his kids does it line by line and explains kind of this is the head, this is what we're doing, this is why. And then at the very end, they like do time lapse color. And then you can like pause and rewind. Yeah, Dez's kiddo does it.
Awesome.
I think you guys remember seeing my switch that I did with my kid this week or last couple of days ago. Same website. But this was a different day, obviously. And I don't have his in here. Oh, here's my switch. It's right here. My switch. You know, you got to power up the switch.
Awesome.
So, Animal Crossings is my favorite Switch game to play. And Ethan drew the original NES Super Mario Brothers on his screen. But that was a fun little mommy and me moment. You gotta have art with your kids.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's how you keep it going.
yeah. A little bit of August that I did not finish. The month there's some Madame Leota, the Haunted Mansion, because you gotta have Haunted Mansion in a ghost month.
Mm.
Some Ghostbusters. And these are just some random guys that I just wasn't really feeling this month. And the second half of the month, none of the prompts were really motivating me to continue, so I didn't. These diamonds too bright. I need some Gucci lenses. All right. And that's what's left. That's what's in my creative mess book of art.
Nice. That's a swell Inktober sticker you got there too.
I made it.
Did you?
I did.
That's fantastic. I thought you got it from Jake Parker's website or something.
I did not. I have a cricket. I have a cricket, and so I just took the thing and cut it out of some vinyl and
Wow.
slapped it on there. Same with the Archuary logo there.
Look at that.
Yep, yep, yep. It's like got Witcher, Mandalorian. There we go. Get Vocal, old school. Well, I guess they still exist if you guys ever want to check it out. It's boring. Don't go there. But yeah, you got your Apple logo. Yeah. That's my sketchbook. It's pretty much donezo. I think there's like 7 pages in the back left. That's it. It's a full book out of like 100 pages or so.
I always don't draw on the first page
No.
of my sketchbook. I leave that blank always because there's always like some type of weird rubbing going on with like the front like
Yeah.
hardcover, and it like
Yeah.
tends to just by the time you get to the end of the book, the first drawing that you have, maybe even the second, has been like kind of like faded because it's
Mhm.
rubbing back and forth.
Well, and I have several different books that I draw in. I have a black paper tablet that I have drawings in. I have my regular size sketchbook. I have my mixed media and my marker sketchbook, and then I have that little tiny sketchbook that I used to do only all my art in because it was small enough I could throw it in my purse and go. I need to get a new book that size, honestly. But I put a paper in between each art. That's smart. That's smart to
Yeah.
do that. I also spray if it's a colored pencil or graphite, I always keep this nearby. Aquanet for all your graphite needs.
Oh my god, it's
It
awesome.
smells like shit, but it keeps your pencil on your paper.
There you go.
Even the unscented stuff, it smells horrible.
Just to
But
think I used to spend like 4 or 5 years putting that in my hair for my awesome hairdo when I was 12.
that is what they whenever I went to college, they were like, "Do not spend that extra money at the art store on that fixative. Just go to the dollar store and buy a can of Aquanet. It does the same thing."
That's
And it's
amazing.
true.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's true. That's my art hack of the night. Buy you some Aquanet. There you go.
I was in
Good for
Springfield, Massachusetts most of my life. There was a band called Aquanet. They were like an 80s cheese
perfect.
band. They were so good.
That's perfect. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. That's
hacks on my
amazing.
badges.
This has been fun, CS. I'm
It has,
enjoying
yeah,
this.
absolutely. Yeah, sorry my other
It's like a
camera's all
show and
screwy.
tell moment.
Yeah,
No
for
worries,
sure.
no
No,
worries.
it's good to go through like all of the art stuff and show it off and talk about our like trials and tribulations while showing them off.
Yeah.
It's been super cool. Yeah.
Well, and I know that, like, I don't have a giant collection of, like, your traditional art stuff. So I feel like a lot of the times I'm like, I know you guys have seen all these pictures before, but but here's my art. No, some people just probably like seeing it more than I do, but
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
it's just hanging out on a shelf, and, like, I
Yeah,
looked at all
it's
this
just
stuff,
hanging
I'm like,
out.
"Wow," like, my girlfriend's getting me super excited about Inktober. She's like, "You should
Yeah.
totally do that. Forget about the VR. You're always in VR." I'm like, "Alright, fine." There was just some friends of mine that did Inktober in VR, and it was really cool. They had, like, 31 cool little animations, and I was like, "I kinda wanna do that." But I also miss just drawing traditionally because I feel like some of my best work is stuff that I've shown you in sketchbooks. It's not stuff
Yes.
that I'm delivering on a daily basis today. And that's because I've kind of been estranged from the traditional media of just drawing with a pencil and paper and, using a brush
And
pen
it's
and
di
coloring it.
it's different. Um, it's not necessarily that your brain loses the skill set, but it's
Mm.
different for your hand, the way the drag of the nib on the pen or on the paper and the how the graphite lays and
Yep,
the pressures that you put are different than a
absolutely.
stylus sliding across a really glossy surface sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that even though I've been getting really good at, and I'm good at the shading and the shaping and all that stuff, but when I get into Procreate, I look like I'm in middle school. I really feel like I'm get to middle school because draw me swinging through New York looking sleek. Yeah, that would be pretty cool, Peter Parker. I'm not gonna lie. Especially since you have, video games and movies coming up. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. Oh,
Cool
there's my froggy.
beans.
I love my froggy. That froggy may not leave unless they give me really good money for it because I kind of love him.
Yeah, you know what? And back to the babies thing, I would be more than happy to get rid of any of my art babies. It gets easier. There's only been, I think, two that really stand out in my mind where I'm like, I really wish I had this in a sketchbook still to kind of flip through and
Mhm.
look at.
Yep.
Even though I have like a high resolution picture of it, you still don't have that tactileness of like flipping through an art
Yeah.
sketchbook and seeing it, so there's a little bit of like missing out, but I mean, there's more where that came from, right? Like you're
Yes.
just like this infinite creator anyway, so it's like, all right, I'll just make the same
I
one and
think
I'll
if
make it
I
look
could
better.
make if my skills surpassed that level of where I feel my highest work is currently,
Mm,
then I think I would be more willing to let it go. But right now, my gummy bears and my tree frog are like the top 1 and 2 of my current sketchbook, and I
right.
know that I'm only gonna grow to get better than that in the future, and then I'll be like, "Yeah, you can totally have my frog." But right now, Froggy's staying right here. But,
Yeah.
oh, I was gonna ask you, CS, I know that you thought that it was super fun time to do the Mad Libs thing on the takeover. I
Mhm.
was debating if I could get enough people to play along of doing another one this week for the theme of the week being Haps Games.
Ooh.
Mad Lib
Yeah.
time would be perfect for this week. So I don't
Yeah.
know what your schedule is looking like, but if you wanted to join in and play along, I'm sure we can make that happen.
Yeah, that
You know
sounds
when we
awesome.
usually hang out is late at night. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a night owl as well. I'm up until like 2 easily every night anyways, so
I usually tell people if it's after 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm usually available for live streaming unless it's some random thing happening like PopX Cast or something weird. Or maybe a random guest hosting night on Hapstars on October 21st. But but other than that, usually my nights are really open. But yeah, let me know what night you would be willing to play, and I will start looking for a story if we can have a couple people join in.
Yeah, that was fun. That, like doing the whole Excelsior, like drawing and everything
Yeah.
from the last one. That was super
Since
fun. Like,
since we've done it once, I know how to make it work with the studio, with the
mhm.
announcement thing, which I thought was really, really good. And since everybody is in Discord, I can also put the story in there so you guys can have that up on your screen on the side or whatever.
That's yeah, it's a good
So that's easily to reference while drawing. I've definitely learned from the first round that I'm going to hone in on one thing,
idea.
not the entire damn thing,
Right.
and try to be, the overachiever, so that I can have a good piece come out of it. I really struggled with the live part, but I think I brought up the rear and came up with something decent. So
Oh,
I was I
absolutely.
was I was satisfied. I was thoroughly
Mhm.
satisfied. Well, if I hated that, I wouldn't have done it again. But
Sure.
but I'm willing to go through that again. I think Des is probably down for another round. Possibly.
Yeah.
I'm sure Joe will be down. I don't know. He's in Universal playing in Hollywood Horror Nights right now. I can't ask him, but I'll ask him later. If Jeremy is off, which I think Jeremy's off this weekend. I don't know what you have going on this weekend, but Jeremy's off this weekend, and so he might be able to come play with us if you want to do something.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
so
not I have,
I will put a note over in the Discord and see if there's anybody else that wants to join us.
okay.
And also, yeah, play date so we can get some theme action going on
Heck yeah.
for the Hap streams. Heck yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
New beans.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. What do you think?
I
Good?
think we have arrived. I feel good
I think we've
on the
we've
whole.
gone through Inktober and talked about our trials and tribulations, our like weird art
Unless
like
there's any
fears
other
and stuff like that.
questions about
Yeah, if anybody has any other last minute
challenges, I think
questions,
we
yeah.
covered materials, we've covered tactics of approach, we've covered all the show and tell I think we could all muster.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Proper mindset,
yeah, yeah,
preparation, all
I
that
think
fun.
everybody is ready. This is like the beginner's guide to art challenges 101 by
S
C.S. Murphy and special guest badges.
There you go. I should just retitle this. That's what I'll do.
Sure. As absolutely.
Right on. Well, guys,
All right.
thanks so much. It was a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you so much for showing all of your art as well and showing
Thank
your
you for letting me
experience
come
and
up.
explaining everything. That was really, really cool. And yeah, looking forward to Inktober, guys. Get your sketchbooks and your art quivers together, and join us on a daily basis this upcoming October for some drawing.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a
From
lot of fun because all there's a lot of Haps people playing along.
Heck yeah, it's gonna be a gas.
Absolutely. See
So
you next
awesome.
time.
All right, you guys, take care. We'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.